Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the KimUnity Soulutions podcast, the only podcast that turns workplace challenges into real world solutions. It is so good to be with you all again for another week. I am your host, Kim the S.M.E, speaker of my experiences. That's what S.M.E stands for. I know most of you think it is subject matter expert, and that's the title that I was given in corporate America, but no. I have changed it to speaker of my experiences. So let's get into it. Welcome back. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about feedback. I was actually given some feedback just yesterday, and I started thinking about how different people welcome it. Some people welcome it and some people do not. And so that's what I wanted to get into today. Do you welcome feedback? Do you really welcome feedback? Many people say they do, but you can tell by their response, by their body language, by, their attitude, the emotions, that they really don't quite welcome it. Sometimes only if it's positive. Have you ever experienced that? That's what I want to get into today. So, do you really welcome feedback? Have you ever had to avoid giving someone feedback because you already know how they're going to respond? It's always negative. And sometimes you have to look at yourself and say, okay, well, they didn't ask for my feedback. Am I, what do they call it? Are you providing unsolicited advice? But we're not talking about the unsolicited. So today I'll first start off with what it means and what it looks like when feedback is welcomed. Okay. And then I'll go into the unwelcomed. But we welcome feedback when we're listening and we're asking questions. Oh, okay. I never thought of it like that. Well, what about this? What about that? This is how I interpreted it. That's when you're welcoming it. Not necessarily, to welcome it doesn't mean that you don't have questions about their feedback. It's a give and take. It's a digging of information. It's kind of not collaborative, but more of an understanding. You're trying to grasp what they're saying. You truly and authentically really want to know what their response is. How did they get there? Why they said that, right? Another way is to be listening without being defensive. Some people can, jump at you and just want to over explain or justify or maybe cut you off or simply disregard what you're saying. Okay. But when you have a listening ear, when you are not defensive, when you're actually welcoming, okay, that's how you know. I already said curious when you're asking questions, when you reflect and not deflect, when you actually listen to what they're saying and say, okay, I can see how you got there. I see why you said that. I was just at lunch with someone last week and they asked me a question. I provided the information and they were like, this is good, but I suggest you do this. And they explained why I should do this. And I was very receptive. And at that point, that's what triggered this conversation actually. And at that point, I was thinking like, okay, I already knew I needed to change it because of these reasons. But now they have added even more value and more reasons as to why I need to make certain changes. And so that's how you show your welcoming. That's how you display that. And it has to come from a certain person, not necessarily someone that you already know, but where's their heart at? How do you feel? How were you approached? Now, there is a term called unsolicited advice, right? And I'm not one who is offended by that. because sometimes you don't even know to ask. Sometimes you have no idea that there's a better way of doing something. So if somebody just comes up and just says, for example, someone can come up and say, "Oh, your seatbelt is hanging out of your car." You know how your seatbelt actually hangs out from the car? It's stuck in between the door, right? Which means you don't have it on. But if someone comes and tells you that, you didn't ask for it, that's unsolicited. But it's something that you needed to know. So that's an example of where people say they don't want to know because it was unsolicited. I have no problem with that. If you see something that I could be doing better, I have no problem with that. I'm not easily offended. So I can hear it and I can, see if it applies, see if it resonates, and then make the necessary changes or corrections. It doesn't matter if I ask first or not, because again, you don't always know that there is better. You don't know that the other options. And just because they say it doesn't mean you have to accept it, but it's good to have that perspective. So I encourage everyone not to be so quick to respond, but just to listen and discern. That's how you discern. If you respond too quickly, you can't discern in between. So definitely wanted to share that with you all. Are you inviting more dialogue? Are you brushing them off, or are you, engaging? I've been with people, I've seen people to where they only want the feedback if it's positive. If it's negative, there's like, oh, you always have something negative to say. No, it's not. I don't always have anything negative. I'm just giving you my thoughts. It's not nothing negative. It's just maybe a change could be made. I'm not one who wants yes men all around me. And you need to think about that as well for yourself. Do you always want someone who is always in agreement? How do you grow if everyone thinks the same? If everyone is always on the same page, if everyone has the same idea, there's no way to grow. There's no way to learn. There's no way to get a new perspective to broaden your thought process. Where do you fall in at? When you think back to your more recent conversations with people, how did it go? When it had to do with feedback, how did that relationship grow after that? What is that relationship like now? Because depending how you responded then determines how they're going to approach you going forward. Because if that feedback was met with attitude or was dismissive or deflective, or you respond with, "Oh no, not you telling me how to," right? They're not going to come back and assist you next time. I think of feedback as assistance, because it's opening your eyes to something new. And then you have the choice to either accept it or not. It's just that simple. It can't be just about praise. It has to be about correction, authenticity. Sometimes I'll be on a phone call. You can say, I really prefer you not say that or not speak that over me, and then they can get really offensive. Okay, well, I just won't say anything then. You came at them politely, respectfully, and then they get triggered when there is a request for correction, or when there is a statement saying, okay, do not cross this line, okay? And then we have to move accordingly. Since the pandemic, our social skills have declined because we have, been by ourselves. We've been around less people, and with more technology, And so certain communication styles are not received well, they are misunderstood. And so, because of that separation, we have to continue to ask more questions. We have to continue to get clarity and to get understanding and make sure, okay, when you said this, did you mean this or this? Feedback. When has feedback challenged your comfort zone? Do you get an attitude when people, ask clarifying questions? This is a part of internal growth. This is a part of personal growth. Some people would say that feedback is a mirror. Some people would say that feedback is a mirror, but I don't see it that way because a mirror is more like self reflection. It's not a mirror. Feedback is more feedback is more about what others think. It's an invitation. It's collaboration. It's a meeting of the minds. I can create something. See, I'll use this. I can create this little booklet, right? I'm holding up just a red booklet, spiral notepad. I can create this and I can think it's the best thing on the world. This notebook, has everything you need. But until I present it to someone else, they may say, red, did you realize that red is not good for your eyes? It's not appealing to customers. Maybe you should make it to where you can have a pen is attached to it. So when people have the notepad, it will, have everything they need. Instead of it being spiral, maybe it should be the tearaway. And they're speaking from their experiences and what they need, but it could be something that you need. Who is your audience? And that's what feedback is about. So when I go into corporations and I say, these are changes that you need to make in your leadership department, it's based off of experience. You can say no. They can say no, that's not the direction that they want to go. And that's fine. But what happens is when leadership is only thinking about leaders and not the people that they're leading, that result that they're trying to get will never be met because they don't have the people in mind. There are certain things that we have to keep in mind when we're having a conversation and feedback is given, whether it was solicited or not. And the first is timing. Timing. And as you grow, you will learn from your mistakes. You'll realize, okay, yes, that was great feedback that I provided, but it could have been bad timing. Maybe I should have did this at another time, or I didn't know what they were going through. I didn't ask them if they wanted me to just listen or if they actually wanted feedback. So timing is very important. Timing is super important. It could be well intended, but the timing may be totally off, and that will result in a negative response. It could be found as very off-putting. The other is some people are not looking for growth. Some people just want praise and not, feedback. They only want you to say how great of a job it is. If you don't have anything positive to say, they don't want you to say it at all. And that's fine. That's who they are, but that's something that you learn as you go. Very important point that I have learned through life is that, and it's not to point fingers at anyone, this is just an observation that I have noticed. But when people have not grown up with fathers in their life, with father figures in their life, male or female, correction is very hard to provide. Feedback is very hard to provide because growing up with the male in the household, there is that correction, there is that firmness, there is, and not all feedback is firm, but there are guardrails. And it's different in my experience. This is my experience. It's different coming from a man than a woman. People who haven't had that, they are more apt to not take feedback well, not take constructive criticism well, because that's not something that they're used to. They're not used to having that strong tone or that strong voice around. And so when you come around, just like myself, if you listen to me, you may think that I speak harsh. And they can say, "Oh, you're so intimidating." That's very frustrating for me. Very frustrating. But it says more about them than it does myself, because I think about, okay, I wonder what you were around. I wonder what your environment is like. Because this is just a simple conversation. So timing, tone, childhood, okay? And sometimes when people are asking for feedback, they don't really want feedback. Why does the truth hurt? Why does the truth hurt? Because we allow it, sometimes because we take it personally instead of thinking of it as a benefit. And again, timing. So this is just something that I wanted you all to think about, again, because it's something that was brought to my attention because I was given feedback on something that I wasn't even expecting. So was it unsolicited? Yes, it was, but I am looking always to improve. I'm always looking for betterment. So I didn't take it as a sly. I didn't take it personally. I took it as room for growth. Oh, okay. That's a great observation. Thank you for sharing that. I will keep that in mind. I'm not just overly justifying what I did or what I have. No, you're absolutely correct. I never thought of that. Thank you for sharing that. So now I can go back and make that correction, and then I will be that much better off. But this comes from having that growth mindset. And that's all I want you all to think about is feedback. How are you giving it? Think about your timing. Think about your tone, and think about who you're dealing with, because not everyone is accepting. Not everyone, will accept it the same way because of their different lived and unlived experiences. And once you see that, we basically have to adjust accordingly. Once I see that you're easily offended, or you really don't want to know the truth, you only want to know good, then I have to limit that time with you. I have to limit that interaction with you, because that makes me be inauthentic. So we have to make sure that the environments we're in, while we acknowledge who they are, we cannot lose self. Don't lose yourself. But it's very important to be open and to understand that not everyone is against you. That's the other thing. That is major. That is major. Not everyone is against you. There are people out there that every time something bad happens, they think there's an enemy or, a hater. And I can't stand that term either. But some people out there to tell you because they've been through something, and they're giving you steps and knowledge and wisdom of how to avoid it. They're trying to show you how to go higher, not to be combative with you. Like it or not, believe it or not, a lot of people don't have time to waste. They don't have time for these petty games. You either take it or you don't. So as you go on through your day, as you go on through your week, and you are, interacting with other people. What do you hear? What are their responses? What are their facial expressions? Are you irritating? Are you irritating them? Are you rubbing them the wrong way? And maybe it could just be that day. You need to ask more questions. Do you mind if I help you? Do you mind if I tell you? I do have a few ideas. Do you want to hear them? So the approach needs to be thought about. Do you really welcome feedback? I presented something in a meeting just the other day, and it was because I was on the other side for so long. So before I was the one listening, and then I joined the group, and then I said, okay, while I was on this other side, this is what I experienced. I'm curious about it. Do you mind if I ask these questions? And they're like, well, no one's giving their feedback. No one is, telling us how they feel or want more improvement. So we have to think about, okay, don't think about that. Don't just simply think about why you're not getting feedback or that you're not getting feedback. Think about why. Maybe they're not sure what you're going to do with it. Are you trustworthy? Do they trust you? What kind of relationship have you had before? Where is this information going to go after? And so we can't just think of it at the surface level. We have to think beyond that. We have to go deeper. Try engaging. And so once I came on and I'm sharing my feedback, my experience, and say, hey, maybe we can try this because this is how I felt on the other side. And guess what? They listened because I approached it well. I asked in a inquisitive tone, not saying that I know it all, which I don't. And I wanted their perspective. I'm bouncing ideas off of them. Okay, we can build this together. And the response was wonderful. We had more engagement. We were able to learn and hear different viewpoints about what was going on and the experiences that they've had. And so we have to create that environment. We have to make sure that, we're not cutting off people who really do want to participate, who really do want to help, because not everyone is against you. And so I ask you again, do you really welcome feedback? You will be surprised at how far you can go. You will be surprised at what a few tweaks, how a few tweaks could change the output, change the product, change the book, change the game, change everything, the presentation. So that is my thought for today. That is something that I experienced and I wanted you all to just think about. Do you truly welcome feedback? When you're in corporate, there are managers that say that, oh yes, I have open door policy. Do you really have open door? Your door may literally be open, but you're not welcoming. You shut me down every time I come in here. You deflect, you disregard, you not listen. Change is never made. You never come back with steps to be implemented. You see how that works? So again, that's all I wanted for today. That's all I wanted to bring to your attention. I am your host, Kim the S.M.E. As always, I am only speaking from my experiences. I'm thinking about things I'm going through and things that can help us all. Little tweaks, little changes, little perspectives. And I hope you do the same. Until next time, you all be blessed. Bye-bye.